Who we got online today? Jason. I think there was. All right. All right, so let's get rolling here, folks. Here's our agenda. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger.
That'd be helpful.
You can't read easily.
What?
Enhance.
All right, there we go. Okay.
Nice.
You blind bastards, I tell you. All right, this is. All right, well, welcome everybody. We have a pretty light agenda today, but we can start with our general updates and work our way from in-house and on Zoom. So, Mim, would you like to start us off today?
Sure. I'm Mim Allison. I'm a landowner from the coast. And I'm also a member of the Central Sonoma Coast Firewise Committee. And this gives me an opportunity to tell you all that we're having our second annual Fire Preparedness Day on Sunday, May 3rd. And we have a number of people from this group participating in it. We've got Patty from the Sonoma RCD is going to be there. And we have representatives from the Coast Ridge community. And we have members from Lake Walla River Watershed Council as well. So we're looking forward to that. And I have a guest with me today who is on Zoom with us, Bethany McClave. Bethany recently joined, there she is. Bethany recently joined the Timber Cove Fire Department. And amongst a lot of responsibilities, she is also the public information officer and works with us on the Firewise community. So happy to have Bethany able to visit with us today and meet some of you.
Perfect. Well, let's go to Bethany and get a quick introduction. What we do, Bethany, is typically give just a quick introduction of who you are and with whom you work, and then if you have any updates that you want to share with the group.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate that, Mim. Thank you for the introduction. So, as Mim said, I do work full-time at the Timber Cove Fire Protection District. I'll give a plug for Measure H. That is the reason that Timber Cove now has some full-time staffing. It's been a great boon for our fire district, and it allows me to work with more closely with organizations like Firewise and to attend meetings like this and kind of get my finger on the pulse of what's happening around the county and with the other organizations, because preparedness, of course, is really, really important to us. So I'm really thankful for the invitation to be here today and happy to listen in.
Fantastic. Welcome aboard. All right, coming back into the room. Patty, do you want to give an introduction?
I'm going to defer to Jason.
That's not allowed.
Give me him.
That's not allowed. We at least introduce yourself and what you do.
I'm Patty Aaron. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the Sonoma Resource Conservation District.
I guess it didn't make it full time. I'm Jason. I'm the Director of Forestry.
Can folks online hear us pretty well? Okay, I apologize again. We only have one camera working in the room, so you get to see the backs of our heads for the most part. If we can just wave at that camera whenever you're speaking, that would be helpful. All right. How about Lynn Garrick, please?
Good morning. I'm Lynn Garrick. I'm here in the Upper Mark West Watershed. And just a few things. We had a little trouble getting our Measure H proposal into the portal. It took us a little extra long time. And then I met with Sonoma County Fire District about 2 weeks ago, and they were really encouraging us to put our other CWPP projects, those priority projects that we've decided as a community or things we want to do. So they were encouraging us to put those projects also into the Fire Safe Sonoma portal, the kind of grant portal, whether they seemed Measure H appropriate or not. So that's a question I have. Nice to see you all there who know how to answer these questions. So we do have some other projects that are both fire and forest related. And so if the plan is that we put those into the portal, then I think we need help with that. And the only other thing I would say is we had a successful evacuation drill last month where CAL FIRE, Sonoma County Fire District, and our local Station 6 folks, we did the high-low sirens around our rural community up here. And then people grabbed their go bags, got in their cars. And this time we did a different route where instead of going to Rincon Valley, we went to Larkfield in case in an emergency Calistoga Road were closed. Larkfield would be our next destination. Met at Reebly School and had a nice community gathering down there. So I think our community feels pretty prepared for an evacuation, a real one. And this is our third annual. So we think we're going to scale it back a little bit, do one every 2 years rather than every year, because most people felt like we've got a pretty good system. And we have our own phone alert system that goes out to people saying it's time to go. We seem to be able to get the fire districts to help us with the sirens. And I think it's a real good practice for us. So that's kind of what's going on up here.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Lynn. That's a great update. And how about Christopher?
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Secha. I'm out in West County. Affiliations are the steering committee of this Forest Conservation Working Group, steering committee of Bohemia Collaborative, which is a project under Safer West County. A landowner. I think I've repeated enough over the many meetings that just wrapped up 4 years of fuel reduction forestry work there. A little bit on hold for projects there right now, but just finished a good fuels to flow project in December, and it made it through some incredible rainstorms in the winter. So wonderful to see how that works. And also more recently involved with Bodega Land Trust and the conservation easement called Tannery Creek Reserve on the backside of Joy in Taylor, 187, doing a stakeholder engagement process with Patty, Adriana, and Rose here with all the neighborhoods around that area. So that's all for now.
All right. Thank you, Christopher. How about going to Fred Ufrat?
Hey, everybody. I put in my background today to make me look like I've read every book there. I'm a forester. I'm in Occidental. I've been working on some great projects. I think most notably, just finished with Jason, an herbicide project. We'll see how that goes. It'll be part of our upcoming tours. Um, Went out to the Harold Richardson Grove with Sterling to see what the looks of the fire were out there. Saw a lot of blowdown of Douglas fir, really quite exciting. And the plugging along on management plans and a Kashaya transfer of the Gualala River to the Kashaya over near Seaview. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, next.
All right. Thank you, Fred. How about, I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Emma.
Yeah, of course.
I'm Emma Guzzi. I work at Conservation Works, specifically work with the North Bay Forest Improvement Program and the NRCS Regional Conservation Partnership Program. And I just have a shameless plug update, but we have a volunteer event happening next Friday at Colgan Creek. It's a planting and creek restoration event. So if anyone here is interested in volunteering, we would love to have you there. Or if you know any groups who are interested in volunteering as well, we'd love if you could spread the word.
Fantastic. Thank you. Is it property that Ag and Open Space protected, the section of Colgan Creek?
It's on the
Great question.
yeah, it's a really great question. It's the corner of Monument Drive and Mojave Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to,
Is that one, is that?
The Colgan Creek is one of our projects that we helped, the stream restoration part, and so that might be part of it, so.
This is in collaboration with the city of Santa Rosa. I did not do the planning for the organization for this event.
Well,
But one of
people know, yeah.
That's right, we'll
one of
check
the
that.
AmeriCorps fellows
And
is,
some of our staff would be psyched to do that. So
We'll leave you some flyers.
I have some small flyers that you're welcome to take for more information, and there's a QR code as well.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maybe do you have Rose, can you get access to the QR code and send it to
Yeah,
folks?
if you could send it, I was gonna ask you over email and then I just didn't. If you could send it through the listserv, that would be awesome.
Oh, that's a great idea. All right, let's go to Jason Mills, please.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jason Mills. I'm Fire and Restoration Ecologist for Ecological Solutions. It has been quite a busy winter and spring in terms of vegetation management. We have been firing on all levels. Most recently, we joined up with the Marin Wildfire Protection Authority and did a broom management workshop down there hosted by Marin Water. And it was a great lessons learned between county parks, national parks, and reps from all over. And then on the front lines, we've been especially busy. We got to jump on the broom up on Mill Creek, Palmer Creek Ranch there, where we manually pulled 15 acres of broom strategically to the ridge line. So I would love to take the group up there. We're trying to coordinate a field trip, a great landowner, great project. We wrapped that all up and finished our sweeps just recently. And then we've been kind of jumping around with the conditions. We headed over to Muniz Ranches and we're able to pull about 4 different isolated populations over an acre. And then we busted out the propane torches in the fog and got a bunch of seedlings. Then we hopped over to Alta Vista HOA where we wrapped up a broom job, 4 acres we treated 2 years ago, went back and knocked out what we did in just about 2 weeks in 2 days and dropped that population all the way down to less than 10%. So we're starting to see good effects. And then we pulled some ivy there as well to save the pipe vine and saw some swallowtails. And then we headed over to Fred's place most recently, where roadsides had been mowed, and we were able to tackle, I think it was roughly a mile of broom using some herbicide. We're now busting out the chemicals when necessary. And that's kind of how I'd like to close here, because behind me is a yellow patch of a pretty nasty post-fire invasive the crew's getting ready to treat 3 acres of here in the Mayakama range. But it's this egg leaf euphorbia here, and it's especially menacing. So, I've tried manual treatments on it. It's toxic, it's nasty. We're going to have to bust out the systemic chemicals to try to suppress it before it continues to sprawl through the watershed. So, anyhow, lots of work to do. Just happy to be part of the solution. And thanks, you guys, for all your work. Look forward to the meeting today.
We're gonna have to provide you with the new nomenclature of the invasive plant king, that's a very dramatic background and a presentation. Thank you, Jason.
Yes, yeah, well, we need an army out here, so
Exactly, right?
let's play no King's Day. Let's do it as a people. All right. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Jason. Sarah, do you want to go next?
I'm Sarah Kaiser work with Emma Guzzi on the North Bay Forest Improvement Program and RCPP. We work for Conservation Works, and we submitted our pre-proposal, and hopefully we'll be able to submit our proposal for the Forest Health Grant, Cal Fire Forest Health Grant, which is Jason's brilliant creation of a project. So
Nice.
we can talk more about that.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, thank you. And Lauren, would you like to go next, please?
Hi, everybody. Lauren Clausen, Restoration Program Manager at Sonoma Ecology Center. And we are currently gearing up to work on a couple big projects this spring and summer that'll pretty much carry us through, spring, summer, fall. We are going to be doing about 60 acres of fuels management at Bartholomew Park in eastern Sonoma. That project is funded through NRCS EKIP matching funds as well as the North Bay Forest Improvement Program. So we're really excited to get started with that. We also have a grant from the county that we will be collaborating with Conservation Corps North Bay on. And then Jason is going to be supporting with some botanical surveys. So we're looking forward to working with him on that. And then my colleague Bryn and I are doing a ton of outreach to landowners in above Boys Hot Springs on the eastern side of Sonoma. And we're really hoping to gear up to be able to build a large proposal to do fire resilience work, either later this year or more smaller grant proposals that'll make up several hundred acres of treatment over the long term. So we're doing a combination of a lot of planning and a lot of implementation. So we've got our plates full and are very excited and looking forward to what this year has in store.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lauren. In the room, Ben, would you like to go next?
You betcha.
All right.
Ben Nichols, Fire Safe Sonoma, latest and greatest. So we attended the Wildland Urban Interface Conference up in Reno the end of March. A lot of great information provided there, and a reminder to us that not only do we need to be working on the landscape, but we also need to make sure that we're addressing that home out. So a lot of good connections and partners identified from Southern California as it relates to home hardening and ways to create those agency entity capabilities before grants and RFPs go out so that we have a better menu of options, whether or not it's an ecological solutions or a Conservation Corps North Bay, Biswell Forest, take your pick, right? So identifying those agencies, entities that are available in the workspace to be able to bring that wildfire resiliency to the county. To Lynn's point, message received, this is one of those growing pains through the Measure H process and how this project portal gets utilized. So the idea is that your fire agency rep, and in your case, Lynn, Cindy has identified Dan Russo as your person. Those fire reps are relying on our communities and especially our Firewise communities to be able to help identify those projects to go into the portal. And so to your question about H versus projects and CWPP, it's all the same. So the idea is that we need to capture all projects, because we'll talk about that in a second with what Fire Safe Sonoma is doing, but we need to capture the projects that are needed on the landscape and also or supported so that as we find ourselves in these opportunities, this last round for forest health was really an eye-opener for me. That those of you that remember that while I was still wearing the patch, my mantra was, we're not building a grant to meet the project. We're not building a project to meet the grant that was just flown. We need to identify those projects before grants are advertised. I found myself stuck into that mode because the forest health beat me to the line. So I tried to pull a diverse group of folks together in the 11th hour, and it did not get across the finish line. So the idea is that we absolutely have to identify these projects as a county before those opportunities come up downstream, so that when a forest health grant is announced, Jason and I can sit down and look at the different projects across the county and basically pull them together. Because the biggie that I shared with a lot of our partners as we went through that process was that in Sonoma County, we're really fortunate that we have so many great communities engaged in trying to bring resiliency to their community. What happens though then is that we have 6 to 8, if not more, applications from the county per cycle that come into the system, and shades of the county supervisoral districts. The state level is counties, right? And so we may get a grant, maybe 2 grants if we're lucky, some years no grants awarded from the county. So if we have 8 communities that have asked for these funding opportunities, that means 7 right off the bat aren't going to get awarded. So Jason and I really tried to do a deep dive on how do we get a better representation across the county, which not only brings more resources from border to border in the county, but it also allows us to pick the best projects coming forward so that it's a very strong ask to the grantor that's bringing those funds in, because as individual entities, we always struggle, especially when we talk about the forest health grant, that when the ask is a minimum of 800 acres, there may be 600 great acres, and then it's the struggle about how do I find those remaining 200. So Jason and I specifically talked about, how do we do that for the future? I see Brooke is on the line, right? So we take in those different landowners that makes that ask more attractive to that grantor downstream to try to bring that into the key. But we can't do that if those projects aren't in the portal in. So that's part of that process, is that I've talked to Marika. For those of you, everybody knows Marika, but I'll say it just for the benefit of the crowd, that she's our FireWise coordinator for Fire Safe Sonoma. The ask is that your FireWise communities get linked together, and using Lynn as the example, we're at 40 and growing in the county. And so by breaking down into smaller groups and bringing Upper Mark West, Foothills HOA, Reebly North and South, and Wiki up together as a group, now we can kind of build off of each other, and Peter might pick up projects or ideas from Lynn that Lynn has, and vice versa, right? Yeah. And so that way, Dan's in the room frantically writing down the projects that are being identified, so that then post-meeting, he gets those into the portal.
I love it.
So that's the latest and greatest there. And then for those of you that aren't tracking, the Wildfire and Earthquake Expo is next weekend at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. I think we're at somewhere between we're a little over 80 different vendors that are coming to share information and resources with attendees at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. So we're hoping to build on the successes that we had last year. There's some seminars that are being presented at the event as well. So anybody who's looking for information, let me know. Otherwise, I'll try to share with Rose to put out to the group on the particulars.
Fantastic.
FireWise Expo, we just had our leadership summit. Probably not super exciting for the crowd, but there was great information to be shared there. It's one of those things I want to make sure I'm keeping with the forest working group, right? Sure. So we, great opportunities there, but I could keep going, but I've got airtime here to cover here.
That's right. Thank you for that update. Thanks. Let's go to Harlan online.
Hello, Harlan Tranmer, ERS, Environmental Resource Solutions. We have been doing a lot of fuel breaks, and we just finished a couple of them. One of them is Mount Jackson Resort Road. Another one that we think we're done with as of yesterday is the Siri Repeater Tower. Defensible space essentially. And then NBFIP is ongoing right now at Oddfellows. That's fuel reduction also up on the ridges. And we got a bunch of management plans now to get through for NBFIP. That's mainly what we're in the middle of right now.
Great, thanks, Harlan. Appreciate that. Let's go to Rose or Adriana. Would you like to report out?
Yeah, sure. I had several updates in mind, actually. So I'm Adriana Stagnero from the Gold Ridge Resource Conservation District. You guys already know that, but and then as Harlan was saying, there's a lot going on with North Bay Forest Improvement Program right now. So we just closed one of our application batches, and we had a lot of applications from Gold Ridge's district and Sonoma's district. That program serves 4 counties: Sonoma, Mendo, Lake, and Napa. And Sonoma County has been producing lots and lots of applications, which we feel very proud about. That's a good reflection on like the readiness of our landowners to participate in that. And we had several applications. We had to kind of defer a lot of them, but of those approved this round, one was, at least in Goldridge's district, and then I'll pass to you, Jason, if you want to share anything about your projects, was a forest improvement project in Occidental at the Salmon Creek School, and 6 of the neighboring properties around the school will be doing all the usual improvements there. And we also have active grants from the last cycle in our district at Oddfellows, which is what Harlan was mentioning, and also at the Land Paths Bohemia Preserve. So those are being implemented now. And then the program also funded a number of forest management plans. And we hope that those management plans, those landowners will come back and apply for implementation funds. So I wanted to mention that. And also I heard the good news that in our district, Furlong Road became a Firewise community. So that's great. So I wanted to talk with you, Ben and Marika, about how to bridge between Firewise and community forestry and how we can start working with those folks.
Again, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, Furlong Road became a Firewise community. So they kind of organized and got certified, I guess. So
And what was the name of the group?
Furlong.
Furlong.
Yeah, your neighbors.
I
was gonna say, I was like,
You knew you were listening. Oh, man.
So that was good news. Always love a new Firewise Council. And then a couple other things. I have to remember my mental list now. Oh, Fred and I are working, and Rose are making headway towards preparing a management plan for Schoen Farm. So that'll be nice. They don't have an overall management plan for their forested property yet. So excited to be helping them with that. And then Schoen can could be eligible for more grant funding to do more work there. Because right now it seems like mostly they've been managing that forest through their training program that they've got going on, which has been doing a little bit here and there, but they might need some extra help because they've got a lot of land. And then another thing just to kind of keep in mind is the Camp Meeker Rec and Park District. They're sort of like they're new owners of their land, 300 acres in Camp Meeker, and they're looking to the RCs for help with figuring out how to do active management of their forest and maybe a timber harvest plan. Non-industrial timber harvest. So that's all kind of exciting. And I think I'll end it there. And and sorry, Dee. Yeah.
A question generally, and I wonder if there is any county staff person or any organizational staff person that's keeping track of the number of acres in play. I know that there's sensitivity about, which one, but we could do an update about the number of acres and whether it's implementation or planning or what. But I think it would be encouraging for us to know that. And I just wonder if there is somebody already, or if I could inspire somebody to do that data set,
There's a lot of inspiration. Right now, the website that we created tracks the grant projects that were funded and has shape files for each one of those. And then Jason, in collaboration with Fire Safe Sonoma, is also developing a map of the projects that are currently being implemented.
By the open space district or for general?
In general, yeah. Greater than the Sonoma County Veg map, the Veg Grant Program. They're going beyond that and doing all the fire district projects. They're starting to feed into the Measure H funding, as well as other things like the Forest Health Grants, the VTP properties, the ones that have been completed and are now under environmental compliance. Those are on the map. Now we got to start doing implementation. So
but I was
we're kind of like moving towards that.
Current,
Yeah.
certainly to have an overall sense, but I mean to
and then add to it as time goes on.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it's in kind of in the works.
So we're gonna talk about the wildfire safety project coordination working.
Right?
What's the
I didn't
Yeah, what's an acronym for that?
Where's the mic and Ben?
It could
Thank
be,
you for the setup. Yeah, I appreciate that.
it could be a opportunity to spread the word through media. I mean, because it's gonna be impressive. So I just
Funny you
wanna
mentioned
keep
that.
that in mind. Pardon?
Funny you mentioned that.
Okay. So
That's great inspiration.
Yeah, but that's an
Oh,
excellent.
region.
And then also I was gonna say, so I mentioned a couple of projects in our district and I wanted to pass it back to Jason to speak about his projects.
Yeah, the only thing I really wanted to mention, I think, about North Bay Forest Improvement Program was that we had about 60, 62 maybe applicants, 3, and 30 of them were in Sonoma County. So
Fantastic.
we have a lot of interests, and that also means that a lot of people were not awarded. So that's that is right. Like
But
I think we awarded 3 projects in Sonoma County.
We're telling CAL FIRE that we've got big demand and so we're worthy to be funded. So I think that plays in our favor over long term.
So we're asking for support letters. That's really, I think, where that would come in. Also wanted to mention that we recently finished the Upper Mark West Cal VTP with support there from the grant. That was a CAL FIRE grant, wildfire prevention grant that Fire Safe Sonoma had applied for, and we spent a couple of years doing outreach and engagement in that watershed. And now we have a Cal VTP that covers the entire Upper Mark West watershed. So if we want to do any prescribed burning and we want to have CAL FIRE come out and assist in that watershed, we have a functional pathway to do that.
Does it
been funded.
Saddle Mountain?
Yes,
That's
part of it.
Good.
Right, because Saddle Mountain straddles and then goes outside of the Mark West and into. So, not that we couldn't expand it.
Right.
The more I'm finding out about it, the more like if you had a project on Saddle Mountain, you'd be able to understand access. Also, just wanted to mention that funding from the Sonoma County Veg Management Grant is going to fund another VTP covering the Southern Mayacamas Range. So that'll be basically taking that Upper Mark West, going all the way south, covering Sonoma Mountain and Sonoma Valley and the Sonoma County portion of Mayacamas Range, south to basically San Pablo Bay. So that'll be kind of cool. And I'm hoping to combine a bid process for that in the near future with some PG&E funding that might be able to cover a Cal VTP that would go north from that Mayacamas VTP to cover up to where Marshall has already completed or is in proposal phase for Pine Flat north, like the Geysers VTP. So if all of that is able to get funded, and hopefully we have enough budget to do it, that would mean that we would have in our county for the Mayacamas Range complete Cal VTP coverage from east of Cloverdale to San Pablo Bay. So that'd be pretty good. I mean, that covers our area that most people have been very worried about from a fire standpoint. And I think the big thing with that and why we would do the VTP route would be anytime we could avoid impacts to significant species or something like that, or if we want to get CAL FIRE on board, it's easier to get them environmental compliance for, say, a large prescribed burn using that VTP than it would be if we were going to say it's exempt.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Wanted to mention also that Goldridge had put forward a proposal to North Coast Resource Partnership for GIS improvements, and that was unfortunately not selected this round, but we're gonna keep looking for some funds because that would directly help with the whole Fire Safe Sonoma long name wildfire. We need to come up with a better name. Or like an acronym that doesn't actually have to use those words, but that one. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like CAL FIRE. That's the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection.
Right.
So anyway, and I wanted to mention that Camp Meeker Rec is their board is on board to adopt the management plan that I wrote for Camp Meeker for St. Dorothy when they own that property. So we got to change some names and a few small figures, but their board like to use that management plan. So excited about that. And yeah, the Forest Health Grant, we submitted that. So thank you to Conservation Works for rounding people up and getting that pre-proposal phase in. That's, I want to say 1,200 acres in 5 different project areas throughout the county. Property owners, probably somewhere in the 15 landowner.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Very
it will be very cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We should hear back in 2 weeks.
Is that what it is?
If we get to apply.
27th
Yeah,
is what they
like-
said,
So
so maybe we'll give it to
Yeah,
like
which.
April 30th, May 1st, you know, they always take a little longer, but April 27th is when we're supposed to hear back.
I feel
That's all
pretty
I-
confident we will be able to
Apply.
submit an application.
It was a concept.
Oh, true
proposal.
proposal,
Yeah.
because it's just a great,
Yeah, for sure.
it's a great application, so.
Everyone keep.
Got a lot of great feedback on the last.
Yeah,
Good.
They were really happy. Didn't have enough.
yes.
All right, let's keep moving along with Brooke Edwards. You're next. Actually, Lynn has a question before Brooke starts.
So I heard Jason say something about letters of support, and I wasn't sure if that was something he was looking for now or later. What timeline and to whom?
Not this exact moment, but we will be looking for funding to continue the North Bay Forest Improvement Program, likely in this year.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, we're hoping that we can get funding, because as of right now, our funding will run out. Like our last round of funding proposals will be in July
Yeah.
of this
last
year.
Application period would be July, and that's it. For
That's
the North
it.
Bay Forest Improvement Program unless we get more funds.
Well,
And funding runs out
Letters
a year later, which is why our last round is we give people a year to complete the work.
So you would send a request.
We will send a
whoever.
request, probably to the working group, and
Yeah.
whomever else would like to sign on. Whenever we find the right funding source that we want to try and go for. So
Yeah.
hoping that Prop 4 fund from different agencies start opening up a bit more, and
Really, in a perfect world, they're able to access a big block funding grant program.
Yeah.
The regional program, I mean, we went through 6 million in less than 3 years, so getting like 10 million or something, we were able to really leverage those funds directly to landowners. So we hope to, there's a need, there's an interest, and CAL FIRE does like the program because we kind of take over some of that admin piece, take it off of CAL FIRE's shoulders.
nice.
So cross all your birds for that one too.
All right, now, Brooke, can you give us an update, please?
Good morning, everyone. Brooke Edwards, Sonoma County Regional Parks. We're working on finishing up a lot of our burn pile projects. And with these recent rains, it's allowed us to, complete most of those in a lot of our parks throughout the county. And we're gearing up for prescribed fire planning for some spring burns. And it looks like we're focusing on our Foothill Regional Park and Sonoma Valley. And so those would be grassland burns. And over at Sonoma Valley, we would be partnering with state parks and the new CDC lands that they've been working on. So if we're able to get that burn going this spring or possibly this fall, that would be a cross-boundary burn collaboration between state parks, regional parks, CAL FIRE, and probably local fire. So that's looking to be an exciting project over there, covering a lot of territory in the Sonoma Valley area. And in terms of CAL FIRE and any forest health grants, obviously we have parks throughout the county. If anyone is looking to put together one of those applications and you have a park nearby, definitely hit me up with questions. And most likely I can easily come up with about 200 acres or more of work that needs to be done throughout our parks. For us, we're really something, a grant that big where our two focal areas would be the coastal forests. So that would be Monorio Redwoods and Stillwater Cove. And then the Mayakama Mountains, which would cover Mark West, Hood Mountain, Calabasas, and possibly even Shiloh. So yeah, definitely reach out and we can start working on that for next year, for that next round. As people probably noticed, there's a very short window to get your pre-app in. I think it was about 4 weeks. So we have a lot of projects in the hopper and we are definitely looking to partner with others. That's it for me.
Yeah, great. That sounds great. Thanks, Brooke. Appreciate that. Bryn, can you go next, please?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I think Lauren went before me. I was a little late, so I'm gonna assume she covered all the SEC stuff, but nice to see you all.
All right, thank you. And then next I have Genevieve. Do you want to report out?
You're unmuted.
You're unmuted. I think you're ready to roll.
Hear me?
Yes, now we can. Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. Genevieve Torino, Forestry Project Manager at the Sonoma RCD. Folks have already really touched on what I've been occupied with in terms of North Bay Forest Improvement Program, helping Lauren and Bryn initiate the Bartholomew Park project. And hopefully we've just tentatively awarded another project in Sonoma, so hoping to get that rolling. Other than that, we submitted that pre-proposal for the Forest Health Grant. So nothing much more to report out, but I'd just like to give a shout out to Goldridge RCD and Ag and Open Space for an incredible biochar workshop yesterday. So thanks for putting that on.
All right, thanks. And why don't we go to Rose to give a report out on that event?
Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks, Genevieve, and thanks so much for being one of the folks who came down to the workshop. So yeah, I hope to coordinate a workforce development workshop yesterday, and it was funded by the County of Sonoma and Ag and Open Space. We worked with the Conservation Corps North Bay and provided training in biochar and conservation pile burning for them. So Raymond Baltar from Sonoma Ecology Center came down and he was the trainer, and there were a few other folks there too. So I think it was really great. I think folks seemed engaged and excited about learning something new. People are often really engaged when there's fire involved, and it's an exciting thing to be around. And the CCNB folks had a lot of good questions. And then after lunch, we had a career pathway panel discussion. So Kim came, Genevieve, Ben Nichols. There were some CAL FIRE folks there and Sonoma Valley Fire. And yeah, we got to talk a lot about career pathways, different entry points into fire and forestry careers. And yeah, folks also seemed excited about that. I saw some applications getting passed out and we had some follow-up questions. So yeah, that felt good.
Yeah, Rose did a phenomenal job on that and organizing all the different pieces on that. Biochar was a great perspective. The idea was to try to replicate what we did last July as part of a workforce development effort. We focused on the CCNB crews because they were already working in that area with the landowner, had a lot of material already prepared. So it really was a kind of capitalizing on that type of infrastructure and willingness to do that. And so Sonoma Valley Fire Department was very instrumental in helping us to coordinate that event. And then what was the gentleman's name from Napachar?
His name's Eric. Yeah, I don't know his last name. Anyone know his last name? I'll find out soon.
Yeah, nice.
It's Eric Mayer.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And so Eric did a great job on kind of coordinating the equipment and show. His practice is really focused on the vineyards that are kind of going into fallow periods. And so they have a lot of wood from the vines. And so he's been helping them convert it into biochar that they then distributed across their vineyards. So that was an interesting model. He makes a business out of it. And I think that's what Ray and Sonoma Ecology Center are trying to advocate, is trying to incorporate that as one way to consume some of the biomass that's produced by these veg treatments and try to incorporate and sequester the carbon that's generated from that. it's amazing how little smoke was generated in these high intensity systems and then the amount of charcoal that was produced out of that. So really excellent workshop, and I really appreciate all of those who participated in the career portion of that. Thank you, Rose, for all that work. Let's go to, it looks like Bianca, you're the only person who hasn't been able to report yet, and then Dee as well.
Maybe Bruce too. Hi, everyone. Sorry I came in late. I was just moving dirt from one place to another in the morning. But something I'm working on is like reaching out to our CE landowners about Mediterranean opal, kind of like informing them about that. And doing a lot of like burn piles, like in our various properties, and working with like staff and volunteers doing that. I also have like a volunteer French broom pulling coming up soon. Like I think next Saturday. But yep, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Bianca. Let's go to Bruce Sabelli. Amen.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm just Bruce Abelli Amen, the Sonoma RCD board, and I don't really have anything to report. I'm just here to listen and try to learn and get to know the folks that are participating here today. Thanks.
Fantastic. All right, thank you, Bruce. And then finally, Dee, would you like to report out?
Well, I want to make some observations. One, there's over 20 of us here today, you know, and that's significant. So I really want to appreciate, you know, everyone's work and willingness to take the time to do this collaboration, because we're witnessing the reports of, you know, so many wonderful activities that are bringing fire to a lower level, I guess, of concern. Just a little bit, but you know, we're doing it. So I just want to applaud, and I want to mention the North Coast Regional Project. Is that the name of the
Partnership?
Partnership, yeah.
And the Intercoast Collaborative. And I don't know if we are in touch as a group or if there's individuals that are working with that could provide us occasional updates about what they are doing and how it complements us. So it sounds like I'm one of the representatives for the RCD for the Intercoast Collaborative, and I was going to contact Rose and schedule a time for us to do a briefing for this group so everyone knows what's going on. We're not quite there yet. Well, but we're almost there. That's fantastic. To have enough information to be worth your time. Well, that's terrific. And then I know that the North Coast Regional Project has so much. I don't know, is someone working directly with them that they could provide us with something? Update once in a while?
Ben and I were so close to going up to the meeting. They have quarterly meetings.
Yes, I know.
So tomorrow is the next meeting up in Eureka. And there were no flights available from Sonoma County. I'm just teasing. It's a long haul to go out there.
Helicopters are those little
wings. Can we talk to Cal Fire about dropping us off?
Yeah,
maybe?
I like it.
Anyway, so it was an executive call that we decided not to participate in this one, but it is something that Judy Rosales has also kind of scolded us about we don't have any participation or regular report outs from Sonoma County in that meeting. And so I think this is a great group to discuss it. Like maybe we can attract some attention from them to come down to us.
That's right.
Or find a place that's a little bit more convenient than Eureka. But that was kind of the latest update that I could provide.
With a tribal influence,
Yeah.
because they work with so many tribes, and we also are not represented
Right.
here very often.
Well,
So
just
it's
reminding
another-
Ben that Great Rancheria hosted an NCRP meeting about a year ago. It was like maybe just coming out of COVID, or it was actually, I think, in January. And it was really a successful event, and it did have huge tribal participation, a lot of the local NGOs and government agencies. So I think we could probably see if the tribe, Great Rancheria, would be interested in trying to host another event down this way. So, but yeah, I
We
think
are
there's
kind of the you know, I don't know what you would call it, but our mission is to reach out.
Yeah.
And to, collaborate and certainly with the landowners. So I'm really pleased, to hear it. I just wanted to bring it bring it up. Otherwise, taking action for living systems is moving right along, but there's nothing particular to report at the moment.
Well, I think what your point is similar to what Sarah was saying, that we are a very active county on many different levels.
So sorry.
And I think there's an opportunity to try to draw more interest from the state funders and really attract those efforts. And so NCRP is really the linchpin to get into the CAL FIRE funding on a regional basis.
Right.
They're trying to get a what was the term used, a block grant for this area.
It's Department of Conservation. I'll just throw that out.
Okay, thank you.
They are the regional recipient of the Department of Conservation's regional fire forestry and fire capacity program, RFFC.
Right.
And so Intercoast Collaborative is sort of those inner counties. They're the recipient for those funds, but it's a lot of money. And it's a lot of grant, and it's coming from the Department of Conservation directly.
Yeah, this coastal innovation is really new. It's really wanting, to move forward, and we really want to support them. What about the state task force? Is there any reason to get once in a while, either invite them to come or to get a report of how our work collaborates with theirs? Because they're very influential on a lot of things.
So they do quarterly meetings with
Yes,
the
I know
task
that.
force.
We have one here in
Usually a remote site throughout the state, and then the other is in Sacramento. They do a fair amount of remote access, so that's how I've attended in the past.
Me too.
And then when it's on site, they have resource tables, and that's been productive as well.
It's very helpful.
We hosted the very first, Sonoma County hosted the first one 2 years ago, I think
it was maybe even a little.
Yeah, and that was like the first time all of us were coming out of the closets of COVID, and we got to see each other for the first time. So I think it's a great event, but it is at a very high level.
But I mean, we could invite. I know that Gore was on the board, of that state task force for a while. So I'm just saying, if there's someone that we could invite to make a little presentation at some point,
Good suggestion.
Beyond their quarterly meetings.
Okay, good, thanks.
One of their public affairs people lives here in Santa Rosa and works from here. So I mean, and I'm in contact with him. I could invite him.
Who is that?
His name is Ben, and I can't remember
I'm already.
Well, great. About that.
Sounds good. I say the same thing. All right. Well, that was some great updates, folks. I really appreciate y'all contributing to what you had, and I think we'll move on to our next topic, where I'd like to introduce Ben Nichols from Fire Safe Sonoma. He's a relatively new entity with the sort group. So, all teasing aside, we wanted to kind of focus on the wildfire community preparedness month coming up next month. And this is just a great opportunity for Ben to share a little bit about what he's focused on now, and be able to report out on some of the FireWise community activities as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you need a screen?
No, funny you mentioned that.
Yes.
After Patty was talking about not being, wanted to make sure we weren't wasting people's time. I had a big master plan. I was going to create a very fancy PowerPoint for you guys when Rose hit me up, and that didn't come to fruition. So you're going to get casual Ben and open for conversation and dialogue today. But we have been surprised So I came on as the executive director for Fire Safe Sonoma in February, and like Mim, when I came to the first meeting in my new capacity, there were questions about what is Fire Safe Sonoma doing, and what is Fire Safe Sonoma, and it really was a wake up call for me that we need to better educate and share what it is that Fire Safe Sonoma is, and what we're out there doing for the county and community. So. Fun fact was that we were organized in 1998. So we've been around for greater than 25 years at this point. And Carol Leon Safford and Roberta McIntyre were really the first cutting edge of bringing wildfire resiliency and preparedness into the county as volunteers. I mean, they did this all out of the goodness of their heart because they recognized the need. So we have to recognize where we have come from and the great foundation that they gave us coming into the modern era. So this last year with Measure H, the Fire Chiefs Association, through an effort on Roberta's part, dedicated funds to support my position, a full-time executive director for Fire Safe Sonoma to fill that void that was there to support the program, right? Because again, the work that Roberta and Carol Leon did is amazing that they did that all as a volunteer person.
Are you full-time?
I am full-time. And then some.
Oh, really? I'm surprised.
Right, well, but it's a big lift to take care of what we need to do here in the county, right? So, so with that influx of funding from the county chiefs, there was a group convened last fall that Jason was a member in that room to basically set forward the strategic plan to update where Fire Safe Sonoma needed to be and wanted to be as we pushed into the years to come. So from that organization, the key responsibilities that were identified were public education, the CWPP, also known as Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and being a convener and collaborator here in the county. And you know, we definitely that's been a common theme, and you know, we've all lived this post 17, right? That we had those conversations in 18 that people were all in their silos. We were all doing good things, but we weren't working together. We weren't sharing that information. And to Dee's point earlier, the map, right? We didn't know what was going on, just the ridge over or the community over, because that information wasn't getting shared. So from that group, they decided that Fire Safe Sonoma needed to be that entity that brought people together and got people on the same page and working towards that common goal. Not that we're the leader, just that we're the nexus to get that group together and open up that dialogue. To that end, Roberta and I were able to attend a function up in Cobb where we were introduced to the Santa Cruz Mountains Stewardship Network. That is basically the Fire Safe Sonoma entity of San Mateo, Santa Cruz counties. And Dylan brought a great conversation on how they brought everybody together. Maybe we already talked about this, but just that is making sure that we didn't miss an opportunity. That group brings together everybody. And so you have Save the Redwoods and a timber company at the same table, and you have CAL FIRE and the local fire agencies at the same table, and just all the different grazers and PBAs and just everybody working in the space. And their whole deal is to make sure that they're sharing information and ideas and figuring out how to get to that next spot. So really that's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I look to continue that here in Sonoma County with all the great partners and people and entities that we have.
Adding the lumber industry was marvelous.
What's that?
I said, adding the lumber industry to the conversation
Right.
is like, oh, why haven't we done that?
Well, and I'm so excited to hear that Park and Rec is looking at, a non-industrial timber management plan, because that's absolutely what Camp Meeker needs. we'll see if it gets across the finish line, but I love it. That's great news. So, so with that, some of the things that Fire Safe Sonoma is doing in that space when it comes to public education is that from the early beginnings, our Ready, Set, Go campaign was the booklet that we hand out at all the different events. Of course, I didn't bring one today, but I'm sure you guys have all seen them. But basically, it gives those residents that opportunity to prepare pre-fire, to get their defensible space, to get that home hardening, to have their evacuation plan so that when that fire occurs, their home should still be there and they and their family and pets and animals have safely evacuated. So that's one of our biggies, and that's a coordinated event or a coordinated effort through the National Fire Protection Association, also known as NFPA. That's basically a nationwide program, but we've put the Sonoma County ink on it. One of the things that we've done as Fire Safe Sonoma in the last couple of years has been the Wildfire and Earthquake Expo, Safety Expo at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds that I talked about earlier. It first came to be as a CERT event up in Cloverdale, but it morphed into the Fire Safe Sonoma side. So we're really excited about that because that's that opportunity to bring all these different agencies, entities, and vendors to a common place so that people can come through and learn about what it is they can do to help create that resiliency for not only their home, but their property as a whole if they're larger property owners. The monthly speaker series that we host, it's an online capacity. You guys as a whole have, I believe, all been a part of that, but we make a point to bring different speakers in to share their information. It's recorded and then put onto our YouTube channel. So it's a reference document for folks downstream. And so if there's anything that we're not hitting, we would love to know that so that we can make sure that we address that for the information sources that folks are looking for. So a lot of great folks coming through on that. Our social media campaign, we have the awesome opportunity that we have a program with the AmeriCorps Fellowship Program on the California level known as the California Climate Action Corps. And we have 3 fellows that come through that are a part of our team. And so we've got some young, very tech savvy folks that are sharing the word. And so obviously the normals, the Facebook, the Instagram, and then we also have a constant contacts list for kind of an email or letter format. So anybody who's not signed up for our constant contact, that's a way to get more information into your community. To go with one of the big things that has evolved in the last 5+ years has been the association with the NFPA Firewise USA program, where we have the ability that like MIM is involved with, and I think that's it for our room. Oh, I'm sorry, totally, Lynn, top left corner in the bright sunny afternoon up there. But the Firewise and Patty and Oakmont, thank you very much for keeping me honest. So
Wiki,
and well, the upper Wiki, yeah, those of us, at the bottom of the hill, not yet, because we haven't found a leader yet in lowland. But the Firewise communities give us the opportunity. So that's been the transition, as we mentioned earlier, about all of the different active groups and communities here in the county. Over the course of time, that we have evolved. So when the understanding of doing something more to prepare their communities for future wildfires, that first iteration was the Fire Safe Councils. And the Fire Safe Council is basically a standalone organization, and they were community-based. So Sea Ranch was one, Oakmont was one. Mayacamas Fire Safe Council, we had a whole bunch of standalone entities. Well, when you do that, one, they're each on the hook for their own CWPP, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So the latest iteration for the 2023 update for Sonoma County is over 200 pages long. So that's quite the document to have to maintain. And so what has happened historically, again, when we talked about the grant opportunities, was you had a group like Sea Ranch that had a very robust HOA program and a great grant writer and removed from the rest of the world. And so they seemed to get pretty much every grant that they asked for, but then other communities weren't getting that same support. So into the modern era, now we have the Firewise USA communities, and those Firewise USA communities live underneath the umbrella of your countywide fire safe council, which is Fire Safe Sonoma. So now the objective is, as I was mentioning with Lynn earlier, is to make sure that we identify the needs from the individual communities underneath the county umbrella. And now we can make one ask to the grantors to then get those resources out to those individual communities so that, you know, when Upper Mark West and Timber Cove are both looking for ingress egress maintenance along their escape routes, we can now tie those two communities in with, say, a Grove Street and an Alta Vista Terrace, and be able to make one big ask and then put those resources into those communities to implement those projects that Lynn is working with Dan Russo to get into the project portal. With that, the NFPA gets very anxious about it, but there's also a financial benefit, although not much, but it's a financial benefit with the insurance policies that they've recognized that community, when they're a community in good standing, have addressed their part to to reduce the risk to that community, and therefore they see a slight decrease in their premiums that they're paying. Again, NFPA doesn't like to talk about that because that's not the reason why they stood up that program, but that's the reality that we live in California. So if I can help maintain a couple more policies or reduce some of the crazy outflow for what people are paying for premiums at this point, I consider that a win. But those Firewise communities, instead of the heavy lift of the CWPP, they have a 3-year action plan, and they work with their fire agencies, Fire Safe Sonoma, and their community to identify their priorities for the coming 3-year plan. And that includes what they're going to do to harden their homes and create that defensible space around their homes, evacuation routes, and sharing of information. So it's a very streamlined process for them to enter into, but it gives them actionable items to do for those next 3 years. And I had a great conversation with one of our community members from Grove Street last night down at the Altamira Middle School for the Sonoma Valley Disaster Preparedness Festival, that he said, Ben, you know, we identified all these great big projects early on. We've smashed through all of those and we have nothing left to do. And I said, well, to take a deal from Cara Leone over the years, that Cara Leone would talk about the person that would stand outside their house and look at the forest and say, we got to do something with this. And I said, you got to turn around and look behind you, because now in the 0 to 5 era that we're in, there's a lot of work you can do that's right up against the house versus the stuff that's out on the landscape level. So that was a great aha moment for him, that, you know, whether or not that's upgrading fences to create that non-combustible material coming into the house, and just that process of helping reduce that ember ignition zone was a big one. So great opportunity there. But those are those groups that, once they're also part of the Firewise program, we have what I'll talk about a little. Well, I'll talk about it now. The Listos trailer, that we have a tool trailer that we provide to our Firewise communities to help the community rally together for community work days to prepare their community for future fires. And so Kim just a little while ago got to participate on the Wiki Up community work party day and bring it together. We've got the broom puller for, if we've still got Jason. I don't see Jason. Maybe we lost him in the broom. Oh, no, there he is.
Parenthesis.
but a stash of broom pullers and loppers to get into that broom, and then some heavier equipment, chainsaw and such for some of the heavier fuels. So that's another resource that we have received grant funding historically to purchase that trailer, and now that's a resource here in the county. It's going out to Timber Cove here in the near future, as well as oh shoot, I can't remember the next location, but definitely heading out to the coast here in May.
Insurance on something like that. Do you have?
Yep.
Can you give a little snippet of what insurance is like when you have a tool trailer?
So we maintain the insurance, so that's something that we have taken on that responsibility. And then when the trailer comes out into the community, there's a hold harmless that the people that are utilizing the tools on that trailer complete. And like the chainsaw, there's a conversation about, are you familiar with a chainsaw? You know how to run a chainsaw? No, but could you teach me? No. So the chainsaw really doesn't get used as much as the other tools, because as a rule, there's not as many folks that are familiar and comfortable with running a chainsaw as could be. But we've talked about different tools like the little handheld mini chainsaws at this point that are, Makita, and you take your pick on those different vendors. That it's definitely an intermediate tool that is very user friendly, that doesn't have the risk that a full size chainsaw does. So yeah, looking to increase that tool complement. So those of you that have used the trailer, Lynn, and I don't think you've got to use it yet, Patty, but that's one of the things I tasked Jenny Hernandez, one of our current fellows, with is to identify what we don't have in the trailer that we would be beneficial downstream. Which then brings us into, we talked about the AmeriCorps Fellowship Program, and we run three a cycle. So this current group that we have, Jenny Hernandez came to us with fire background from our federal partners, and an interest to get out there and get into the communities and get her hands dirty. So she is our tool trailer coordinator for the current go round. Claire Burrows is our techie person that is very good at social media and public outreach. So that's her bailiwick. And then Sydney Maraca is doing the GIS support, assisting or helping out where she can with Jason and Esther and some of the other folks that we have working in our GIS program. Which actually brings me back full circle to our staff. We have 2 county coordinators. So that's a California Fire Safe Council funded grant that we have that we just applied for an extension through October of next year. But Sophie Levesque is our county coordinator, and so she's my right-hand person when it comes to helping out the communities here in the county and being that convener and collaborator. And she also supervises the fellows on a day-to-day basis. And then Marika Ramsden is our Firewise USA coordinator, because again, 40 communities and growing is a full-time job, and there's not enough of Marika to go around. So fellowship, and then Wildfire Leadership Summit is something that we routinely put on, that not only are we bringing together our Firewise community leaders, but we're also bringing in a bunch of subject matter experts to be able to share latest and greatest developments in the wildfire resiliency space. So just hosted our last one here at the end of March. And the comment, so we've historically held it at the Credo High School, but there was a catastrophic failure in their system a week before the event. And so Sophie worked miracles, and the comment from the crowd was, we graduated high school and we're at college now, because Sonoma State allowed us to use their facility. Nice. And it was a very nice venue. That's that was a very successful with that.
A quick pivot.
It was an amazing pivot. So that's It has been a biannual, but I would like to make it an annual event because information is changing so often or being updated in the space that I don't want to miss those opportunities. And historically, it's been for our Firewise community leaders. So I think Lynn has made it to all of them at this point. I want to make sure that we're getting more people engaged. So in the future, we may look at opportunities to bring in more members of the public to be able to get that word out farther and wider. Historically, well, I won't go into that one. That one's not an exciting one. CWP, just the fact that we're working hand in hand with CAL FIRE. Historically, again, silos, people were working on their own deal through the California Fire Safe Council grant. That the ask and the expectation is that they're working with the local CAL FIRE unit. So over the last handful of years, Fire Safe Sonoma has convened a meeting with the CAL FIRE Sonoma Lake Napa unit that encompasses the 6 surrounding counties, right? So Sonoma, Lake, Mendocino, Colusa, Yolo, and Solano. I bring all of those RCDs and Firewise folks, fire safe coordinators together to be able to share information about what's going on the local level and then what the CAL FIRE units priorities are coming into the future so that we can more closely align with what is important to both sides. Which then the CWPP, as I mentioned early on, and tell me when I hit my 2-hour mark. The CWPP. So Carol Leone helped create the first CWPP back in 2017
What does
before.
that stand for again?
What Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So Roberta, Carol Leone.
County scale, just to clarify, that's a county Sonoma County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. There's local ones, and then there's a county one that Carleone led.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
So she created the first one for the county before it was a thing, and you know, an omen of things to come. Maybe it was published, it was finalized in 2017, months before 17 fires. So we've now been through an update in 2023 because in a perfect world, they are a living document that need to be updated every 5 years. So our next update will need to be in 2028. So, so to Lynn's point, this project portal that now the chiefs have given funds to Fire Safe Sonoma to make sure that we're tracking on our priorities, this project portal allows the housing of those projects that have been identified as needing to be done into a database and a map that when we're ready for that next CWPP update, we validate that those projects are still relevant and are ready to go, and it's a turnkey into the new document. So to Lynn's point, the conversation, the last CWPP 2023 update, anybody could enter a project. So if you go and you do an internet search today for the county CWPP map,
they had a portal as well.
It is very convoluted to say the least. And what was happening was anybody was able to enter in a project. And so to Brooke and his state parks counterparts' chagrin, there was projects that were identified in their parks that nobody had talked to them about. And so that becomes an issue that, you know, the adage of garbage in, garbage out. So the idea with the current iteration that the fire agencies enter those projects into the portal, Lynn has the projects that she wants to do. She talks to her representative from Sonoma County Fire District, Dan Russo, and Dan says it gives Dan and Lynn the opportunity to talk through the project, bring in Jason as they're developing their project, and ensure that it is a project that has a purpose and is strategically important, because there's a lot of projects that, not a lot, but there are opportunities where people are looking for one-offs that benefit maybe themselves versus something that is a benefit to the greater community or the county as a whole.
How is that
So
going?
that is professionally mapped.
Right,
Yes.
right,
Some of
right.
them like here.
Right.
It's like everywhere in here.
Right. And are you having success at getting everybody willing to kind of come in and see the big picture rather than their unique need?
Yes, yes, no, absolutely.
Okay.
That the fire service reps, and so and it's a great time to talk about it, I guess, because that's our next item on the list. So the idea of the program is that part of Measure H was an addition of staff to be able to be those coordinators of wildfire safety reps across the county. Some agencies have a dedicated person to that position. Other agencies have it as an other duties is required for one of their other line personnel. So Lynn is fortunate that she has a Dan Russo that he's that is one of his main jobs in life, versus by the time you get out onto the coast, for specifically the coast ridges, that's Chief DeCarly with Gold Ridge, and that's in other duties as required. So he is juggling chainsaws to try to make that happen, but he understands the importance of those getting in. And so that's my job, is to help the fire agencies be that conduit between our communities and landowners and the fire agencies to be able to get those projects through the system and onto the portal.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to that end, as this process developed, when I came on board, we had a fire agency meeting, and then we had a land manager group, and they weren't necessarily working together. So my deal was to get rid of the fire specific one, and now we all come together for one meeting, and that's this next Monday. Brooke will be hosting the next meeting here out at Regional Parks, to bring together everybody in the same room. And the idea is that not only are we talking about Measure H and the project portal, but it's also, to Dee's ask earlier, capturing everything that's being done across the county. Because if you're developing projects without knowing what, say, PG&E is doing, what the county is funding, how fire is funding, on and on and on, then we're missing opportunities.
Absolutely.
And as I mentioned earlier, in this modern era, insurance is the monster in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And so to me, this map then helps identify where we're reducing risk and now what needs to be retreated. Because historically, we'd be really great about putting up a project on a map that's been completed, but then it was there forever. Well, we know 3, 5, 10 years down the road, that's no longer a valuable
need for retreatment,
project.
or identifying where there's maintenance programs that are working,
Yeah.
you know, like how that could go into places. That's important.
So one of Jason's other duties is required right now is helping flesh out what that map looks like. So as that project, as the project comes to implementation, as it's implemented, it's a color when it first gets treated. And then it starts changing colors as the years progress, so that we recognize, hey, wait a minute, we got to get back up to Lynn's neck of the woods that we haven't treated Calistoga Road in the last 5 years. So how do we get that back on the queue? So great opportunities coming forward there, and the close partnership between Fire Safe Sonoma and both Sonoma and Gold Ridge RCDs is helping turn that corner on capturing and memorializing what it is we're actually doing out there. This map product downstream, The implemented projects will be public facing, but the planned projects will not. Because to Mason Lewis's trials and tribulations in the greater Sonoma Valley, once somebody sees an amoeba or a polygon on a map as a planned project, then it starts the snooze button of, hey, when are you going to get that done? Hey, when are you going to get that done? Hey, when are you going to get that done? And that's the reality that we're living in, is that just because a project is identified on Lynn's ridgetop today, there aren't the resources there for it, but we can't get those resources if we don't put it on the map and we don't identify it as a need. So the whole idea is that those folks that are working in the implementation world to create that resiliency, they can see that, and that allows us to work together. And Jason now knows that Chief Sekeli wants to treat St. Helena Road, right? But just throwing it out there as a deal. Jason knows that that's a priority for Chief Sekeli. Chief Sekeli can now work with Jason to say, hey, what about Fector up to Sharp? And now we're moving in a combined direction towards that common.
Yeah.
D.
How does, I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but I'm not one to honor the boundaries of the counties. I think that's been made clear over my time here. But so then I think of these maps, are they workable together? For example, Napa has a mapping, CAL FIRE. How does this work so that regionally those can be helpful and coordinated?
So part of the process to the fire agency side of the equation, there is a program called Tablet Command. It's an app, software program that first responders are using to.
I think that Napa Firewise.
Yeah, Joe talked about that. And so the idea is that our map data of what has been implemented can be uploaded to that program so that first responders, firefighters specifically, know what has been done on the landscape in front of that fire, right? But day to day for us as a county, we know that our most dire situations are those offshore wind events, right? Mm-hmm. So we know east side of the county, east side of communities takes priority over something else. So while we could know what's going on the other side of the Napa County line, at the end of the day, especially for the proximity to the communities, because we have the Miacamas, we've got that separation. So we need to focus on what's going on our side of the line. Sure. To be able to, and the nice thing that we have for us is that the county line as a whole is a ridgetop, right? And so the ridgetop is a no-brainer that needs to be an area of focus. And then everything downwind is bonus.
Okay. I'll talk to you about it later, but thank you. That sounds like there's some level of coordination and ability to share quickly.
Yep.
Isn't the fire supposed to stop at the
famous last words, right?
Right.
It's not happening.
Well, and so fun fact, that we in Sonoma County have been very aware that our most damaging fires are coming from Napa County, and quit sending your fires over the line. But in '96, we sent a fire into Napa County long before Napa County sent a fire our way. So the Cave Dale fire in '96 that we were just next to the other day, yesterday, went, and it was an onshore wind day, nothing exciting fire weather, but it spotted down in the canyon, and then topography and slope alignment and wind trump everything. And so up and over it went, and lost momentum when it got into Napa County, but it definitely burned into Napa County.
Well, it's a very important to I'm sure everyone, that we fund these projects so that they don't honor those boundaries. It's just really time not to, to help the funding projects do what they should be doing, as you're describing.
Okay. And so being the keeper of these projects and working with our local fire agency representatives, Fire Safe Sonoma has the responsibility to then prioritize the projects for Chief Tuberville Northern Sonoma County Fire District's crew to be able to engage on those projects. So understanding that it at the end of the day is a 20-person crew split out into 5 4-person squads. So they can only do so much. They are making hay. Marshall runs a tight ship and they are definitely making a difference. But the Measure H implemented projects out of like Lynn's neck of the woods are not going to be as prolific as some of the other opportunities, whether or not that's working with Cal Fire Sonoma Lake Napa or the grants or other entities, grazing. I mean, that's the piece of the puzzle, is that we have to get all projects onto the map so that then we can figure out what the most appropriate resource is.
And then we can track how effective those treatments are, if there is.
How about you? So I think I hit pretty much everything else as far as the convening and collaborating. But like I said before, the thing that gives me the most excitement about my current role is to make sure that we're bringing everybody to the table to identify opportunities for that wildfire resiliency. Because to your point, there's a lot of different ways that people are looking at the wildfire threat, and across the line, it's very heavily focused on bulldozer lines and mechanical modification of the landscape. And we here in Sonoma County have a much more holistic view of that fire is not to be feared, that it is to be embraced and understand that we have what we have because of fire. And so that fire implementation on the landscape is a very important thing for me, as well as our partners. That it's not the end all. There's going to be opportunities where communities are not going to have the palette for smoke from that prescribed fire, and they may have the means to do a grazing program like Oakmont in between 12 and the community. And so we're going to make sure that we're maximizing all of the specialized resources in the county to help get us to that end state. Because at the end of the day, you guys have heard it before, but if practitioners, prescribed fire practitioners, were to put fire on the ground for every square foot of the county every 15 years, because in a fire return rate interval, that's too fast for some, but slower for others. So it's just a quick, easy middle ground. We would need to be burning over 50,000 acres a year in Sonoma County.
Wow.
So
Jeez.
I
Estimate
need all of the sheep and goats again.
What do you think is our estimate right now per square?
On a big year, it's 2,000.
Right.
Wow, that's a big year.
Big year.
Wow, yeah.
Well,
We need all the tools in the
we're
toolbox. Yeah.
So supporting that infrastructure for grazing and, those that have the ability to cut pile and pile burn, great. And others that masticate maybe, and just everybody meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So I was asked years ago, it felt like years ago at this point.
Yesterday.
Paul, when I took the job, and my final interview question for the job was what do you see as success in 5 to 10 years? And my answer to the board and the panel that I had was that when the next Tubbs fire occurs, because we now know that is a thing, that when the fire is complete, it's still going to have the same footprint, because when you have the offshore winds blowing the way they're blowing, firefighters are not going to stop that fire. But when the smoke clears and the wind stops and the smoke clears, my goal for success is that all the homes are still standing because we had that defensible space and the home hardening. We haven't lost lives because people were able to get out of the way. And our forests are still intact, that they haven't experienced a stand replacing fire because we've reduced that ladder fuel and the available fuels to that fire.
Very nice goal.
The goals of Fire Safe
Here,
Sonoma.
here.
You got some work to do.
I do have some work to do. When we were up there on Cavedale the other day, it made me cringe looking across that bowl. That, that's one of those deals that I hit Mason while we were up there, that we got to get fire on the area that has been treated between the fire station where we're at, because we didn't do the herbicide. And so now you have the Bay Chia pets, couldn't help myself, coming back up because that they haven't been held in check. And even the Manzanita over by Silver Cloud, I saw was coming up in full force. So it's that low intensity fire to maintain the initial, because that was an example of a mechanical, it was a hand crew with mastication. Yeah.
Right.
So it was a hand and mechanical treatment. And here it was less than 3 years ago, right?
Less than 3 years ago, but remember, a lot of it was bringing down charred trees that were no longer able to provide any kind of shade. So that concept of a shaded fuel break,
right.
The next generation of shades coming up, and so it's under full sun, that's a lot of regeneration.
So a lot of information. Sorry, it wasn't more fancy on the board. That's where I wanted to go, but.
No, all right. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Yeah, so I'd like to open up a few questions.
Reflections more.
Okay, great. Let's do a reflection and then a question over to Dee.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to reflect a couple things. Congratulations on your role, because I think we're all very, very happy that you are in this role, and like super excited to work with you and grateful for all of the experience that you bring and just the energy that you've come running in with. So that is wonderful. So thank you so much, Ben, for choosing to do this as the next stage of your career. And then I just want to reflect on all the growth at Fire Safe Sonoma too. I mean, I think we've all seen throughout the years how much Fire Safe Sonoma has been growing, and all the accomplishments, the ways that you've served the community and helped these Firewise groups get up off the ground, and just the level of potential that's still there for Fire Safe Sonoma. I know that you guys have big dreams and big shoes, and you guys are working so hard to fill all that, and that's really wonderful. And then I wanted to say too that Dee, you said a little bit about like, oh, can we be inspired to do this mapping, or can we be inspired to count all the acres? And another kind of wave of inspiration is this partnership between Fire Safe Sonoma and RCDs. I think we've been inspired to want to tighten up our partnerships more and see how, Fire Safe Sonoma has this near home community WUI driven mission, and the RCDs have more of the wildlands mission and like natural resources preservation mission. And so we're coming together to really work in lockstep, and that's something I'm excited to do with you and Sonoma RCD going forward. So yeah, just wanted to put those things out there.
Awesome. First Dee, then go to Christopher.
Yeah, quick note. Ben's an example of job creation. I mean, how much are we now benefiting because he has a full-time plus a job to help? So this is just another thing that has been inspirational over the last 20 years. My question may not be answered right now, but do we know how many houses are in the Tubbs fire footprint?
I'll get back to you.
I'd like to know. No rush.
Before next fire season, please. Christopher.
Thanks, Ben. That was very helpful, especially for me. I'm not familiar with a lot of what you're talking about, but I heard you say that you're working closely with fire safe communities. And then at one point you dropped in that you're going to try to work more with community-based groups. So can you explain, or anybody here explain, what is the difference between a fire safe community and a community-based group? And how do those two entities work separately and or together?
So a Firewise community is part of the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA's Firewise USA program. There are specific requirements for them to be communities in good standing that they have to meet. Whereas a community that just says, we want to do something better for our community, that's a community versus a Firewise community. So I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that
In a Firewise community, would you have possibly multiple and different community-based groups?
No, well, so that's a good question, Christopher. So the Firewise USA template is they want a minimum, and it truly is a minimum of 8 homes, 8 residences, and a maximum of 2,500, because it becomes so ungainly at that point that you can say the city of Santa Rosa is a Firewise community, because they do have deliverables that they're on the hook for to maintain their hours of participation during the course of the year and their investment. And their investment is a combination of what they've actually spent and their time that they've spent doing the project. Jason.
Maybe just an idea. Hacienda had a social club for like 100 years, right? And then they used that social club as the basis for their fire safety council. So that would be hopefully answering your question about a community-based organization. Say that they did join the Fire Safe Council, the Hacienda Club, right? And then a Fire Safe Council is specifically, like Ben was saying, somebody who's like an organization that is formed that has gone through X, Y, and Z to be certified as a Firewise community, Fire Safe Council, what have you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question for me, being involved with community groups, is to what extent are community groups coordinating under some umbrella called a fire safe community? Or are they just separate entities doing their own thing as community groups?
Yeah, and so that's a great example of the Sonoma Valley Disaster Preparedness Festival last night, was that it was folks from across the southern end of Sonoma Valley coming together, right, to learn about what they can do. And so we tabled at that event to share information with everybody. We had representatives from our Grove Street Fire Safe Council and London Ranch, but as a whole, it was the greater community that came to that event, right? If that answers that.
Because I mean, I know in Oxnard we have neighborhood fire groups under Safer West County, but those aren't necessarily community-based groups involved with water or forest or fuel.
Yeah, and we just had that conversation a while ago that the original plan was to have 16 Occidental neighborhoods as their own Firewise communities, and one got across the finish line. So you have Safer West County that is the footprint of an organization that has identified the need to work together. But as far as the Firewise communities, there's only one little postage stamp inside the greater Safer West County footprint.
How about online? Are there any questions from folks that are zooming in? I think Upper Mark West is another example of a very interesting collaboration of 3 different groups according to their group's interests. And Lynn, you could speak volumes about that history, about some people just wanted the social part. Other folks really wanted to focus on wildfire safety and the firefighters community. And I forgot the third group. Is it just mostly the Mark West Watershed? That's right. Yeah, the Watershed group.
Yeah, I think we find that just exactly what you said, Kim. Different people have different, they want to walk through different doors. So if we can have 3 doors for people to come through and we all get together in one place at the end, that works for us. And part of having that social group, I think Judy's talked about this, other people have too, is the winter social and the summer social and making sure that we've got donuts or muffins when people do the evacuation drill. So the social component is what's going to keep us safe in the future, because if we don't have that component, we won't know what projects need to be done. We won't be able to get landowner permission. So it's definitely a three-rail bank shot, as my friend would say.
Got it.
Yeah, I have the visual, Lynn, of like when you go on an evacuation, you grab your muffin tin or something like that. Is that the case?
No, when you go on the evacuation drill, you grab your go bag. I will be at the school with a group of people and we will give you muffins.
I love it. I love it. Good.
Well,
thank you.
And I love the food component, Lynn, because Chris Chang Weeks over in Alta Vista had just talked about we got pile burning to be going on in Santa Rosa, city of Santa Rosa, for their Firewise community. And her deal was her takeaway from her exposure with Lynn was the baked potato and the burn piles.
That's good.
That was one of the highlights for burning piles for Chris.
Good.
Brad, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I've got a question. I want to get all sciencey here for a second. Um, there's research out of Oregon and Montana about developing splats, which are spatially linear oriented ways to reduce the spread of fire. Um, is there any look at working with specific landowners to create spaces that will slow and stop fire, or is it still whoever is easiest in the dots? I'll take my answer.
Lines are slats.
So we have pods here. And then ultimately the pods really are fire driven, right? Whether or not they came about for wildfire, but then I want to use them not only for wildfire potential control lines, but I also want to use them for prescribed fire boundaries. And so to that end, to me, the pods is the first layer, and then fire or whatever vegetation treatment, whether or not that's grazing or mechanical otherwise, then supports that initial foundation of that pod line. So I'll look into the splat. I hadn't heard of the splat. That might be what Napa County is looking at trying to do with their enhanced resiliency sites. But ultimately, to your point about where we're working, as this has developed over the years, just going back to 2018, Fire Forward tried to do a righteous burn out on Monan's Rill, and were told absolutely not, because people were
By who?
so petrified of fire.
The people that.
I'll leave the agency out of it. It was the agency that brought it forward was concerned about their community's panic of smoke in the air. And so that was 2018. And now there was a conversation at the last two fire prevention officers meetings ago about that people are so accustomed to smoke in the air that now potentially they're not calling in structure fires because they associate smoke as just something that's regular. So it's this really crazy world that we're in. But
just to finish up, one example might be looking at where the vineyards are already existing in an area as de facto fuel breaks and looking at connecting those up in a more conscious fashion. That's really what I'm talking about, and saying we expect, we can extend this pre-existing fuel break further this direction and get a little more coherence in it. Okay, thank you very much. Hey, Ben, you're doing an incredible job.
Oh, thank you, Fred. Well, and to Bryn's neck of the woods, Bryn and Lauren's neck of the woods, we absolutely are trying to use the vineyards as the starting point to then connect the dots with the strips of land and islands between those vineyards to create that buffer between communities. We did have a really interesting conversation Tuesday over in Napa about some vineyards. Not all vineyards are created equal. So those that are on hillsides have to worry about erosion control. So they have cover crop in them. And so as a rule, Cavedale fire that I mentioned in 96, when the fire spotted below the vineyard, the conversation was, well, it'll hit the vineyard and we'll pick it up there. except for the fact that it had grass through the entire understory of that vineyard. So it went through there probably faster than it came up out of the drainage. And so that's the conversation with vineyards, is that
They just need to get the sheep in there.
right, where, well, and it's as simple as sprinklers, but there's so many different growers that have gone to just drip irrigation at this point that might not be across the board. But that's another one of those things that, to your point, Fred, and my conversation earlier was that maximizing those opportunities out there, so.
All right, well, thank you very much, Ben. Really appreciate your report out. And I was asked to kind of give a quick update on the county process. We have received the final recommendations by our consultant ERG on an alignment of climate and wildfire resilience efforts in Sonoma County. Many of you have participated in community outreach sessions, and some have worked on the technical advisory committees. The work is being reviewed by county staff and going to be going to the board hopefully on June 2nd. It was scheduled for last Tuesday, but the item got bumped. And I think there's still some internal discussions about what that's going to lead to. But we really appreciate all the folks who participated in those sessions. And I think the gist of it is basically how the Sonoma County departments can do a better job collaborating so that we have a more strategic way of addressing wildfire. The intention was to start with wildfire and then look at other potential environmental threats such as drought or flooding, those types of things. But starting with wildfire, we have a lot of expertise in the county, a lot of people doing good work on the ground. And so we wanted to start with that. And then also look at ways in which, as a collaborative, we can do a better job as a county entity working with all our different partners. And this is a great example of the type of collaboration that happens, is there are so many people who are doing their things on an individual level. And to put Ben's point earlier about trying to break down those silos. How can we work better across the aisle, to coin a term, but try to get more participation by all landowners, and then really identify the strengths of these different partnerships, so that it might be the RCDs taking the lead in one area, or Sonoma Ecology Center being the local lead in Sonoma Valley, but then getting the support from Sonoma RCD on the technical side. So really trying to look for those logical collaborations and really be able to strengthen them. We want to be able to use wisely the final funding from PG&E settlement to really identify where can we invest so that there is some degree of sustainability of all the efforts that are going on. Okay, so I guess that's my cue to stop talking.
A little bit louder.
We will give a more formal report on what the recommendations were and what the board decides they want to do. Hopefully in May is our scheduled time to report out, but just wanted to share that with folks right now about where we're at.
So May here, you would give.
Yeah, that's the intention, is to give a report out to the Forest Working Group. I need to work up the food chain to make sure that I have permission to do so. And so I go from that. Okay. Right.
Thanks, Kim.
All right. Well, there's a lot of interesting things on the calendar. We got the land paths, Good Fire Days, these next couple weekends. Then we have the UCNR's tree school that's happening in neighboring counties. Then the Montini Walk with a local biologist on April 24th. And then Pepperwood is offering a native grasslands workshop in May. And then the Coast Ridge Community Forest Broom Palooza is a work day. It's happening in May. I thought that was very clever. So, anybody else want to share anything?
I want another question. This wildfire earthquake expo, why doesn't it include flooding?
Yeah, Ben.
What the hell, Ben? Come on, step it up.
It's a good question, Dee. So as I mentioned, it came from CERT. And so it really was a earthquake focused deal, because that's really where CERT shines. And then they were asked to include fire and then wildfire. So now, because of California in 2026, it's the Wildfire Earthquake Expo. Used to just be the Earthquake Expo.
Okay,
And it
they
was-
haven't added flooding on yet.
That's a good.
They had a bit of a shake.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Ah, shake up. That's right. All right, well,
Damn
as the humor starts.
Everybody's getting a little brain dead.
All right, folks. Well, we really appreciate all those who participated online and all the folks in the room. So thank you very much for participating. We'll see you next month.
And we have flyers
Yeah,
here for anybody
flyers,
who wants
you
them.
wanna
Flyer handout.
Share the
Well,
information.
Rose, we can send you a PDF. to print out. Thanks, guys.
It's our California.